So breathing out, very important. It's ever so easy to interfere with our breathing. It doesn't really take much interfering with our breathing. A bit of a negative thoughts, being too busy, excited, irritated, and before you know it, you actually hang on to your breath before, and then there isn't enough space for air to flow in. So I am always on the guard. I'm always thinking of breathe out. Yeah, when you breathe out, you release your breathing mechanism. So we're going to let the neck be free, to let the head go forward and up, to let the back lengthen and widen, to let the knees go forward and away from the hips, to let the feet release down to the ground. These are your primary directions. The directions are the building blocks of the Alexander technique. The directions are your brain thoughts. So as I'm working with you just now, Grant, what I'll ask you to do is to be as passive as possible. You want to allow me to move you as much as possible.
Okay.
Because we're using the chair here, we're using this basic movement of sitting and standing. It's a very basic movement which reflects on people's way of moving in general. So it's important to remember that people who come to me, they don't learn how to sit and stand, really. They know how to do it without me. Yeah? But we do use a chair because it's taken from your everyday life movements. And we want to see if we can attain this familiar end, which is standing up, in an unfamiliar way. And for that, my hands are going to guide you, and I will need some help from your brain. Yeah, these are your directions.
Try.
Yeah, these are your directions. These are your brain thoughts. Your instruction from your brain. Yeah, this is the building blocks of the Alexander technique, as I said. And this is what we actually learn when we come to an Alexander lesson. We learn how to utilize our thinking when it comes to the way we're moving. So we're going to let the neck be free, to let the head go forward and up, to let the back lengthen and widen, to let the knees to go forward and away from the hips, and often we end up standing in a very different way to the way we usually do. Because, for example, if I'll get you to sit down again, and I'm just going to explain this very important concept of head, neck and back relationship, which the technique is very much based on. The head weighs quite a bit. Yeah? Any idea how much the head weighs?
5 pounds.
It weighs about 8 to 10 pounds as far as I know. And just to put it into perspective, it's a similar weight to a newly born baby. Yeah? A large newly born baby. And most of the time when you look at people when they move, with any kind of stimulation to do your everyday life movements, such as drinking something, or bending to pick something up, or even just this simple movement of sitting and standing, or even just the act of speaking alone is enough to encourage one to stiffen the neck and throw this heavy head back and downwards. Now there's 7 vertebrae at the neck area, and the atlanto-occipital, which is really the joint where the head is sitting on, the most important joint in a human body, it's actually in between the ears. But in order to be able to feel the back of this atlanto-occipital, if you'd like to place your hands, please, at the back of your head, yeah, and it's quite high up, it's almost behind the eyes, and just nod your head a little bit. You'll be able to feel this breaking point where the head is just sitting there on top of the spine. Yeah? Can you feel it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, you're in the right place. Okay, let go of your hands, and this time I'm going to point my finger here and ask you to do your own thing.
So you just want me to stand up?
Yeah. Okay, and sitting down. A little bit bit of pressure here. Can you feel that pressure?
Yep.
Yeah? This is just a proof, and it's something that you can see around you quite a lot. Yeah, most people are not aware of it. It's for you to be aware of it, that in the act of raising yourself up from the chair, the very first thing that happens is the stiffening of the neck, the head that is going back, and that compresses with the whole spine. Yeah, that's not a very efficient way of moving.
Okay.
So we'll go back to our directions. Start again. Let the neck be free to let the head go forward and up. That would enable the spine to be lengthening and widening. To let the knees go forward and away from the hips. To let the feet release down to the ground. And just now I'm giving you the experience of the tilting movement of the head. It is very important that the tilting movement of the head is happening directly at the atlanto-occipital. And not from the middle of the neck, as it's the case, as mostly is the case. So if I'm tilting my head, utilizing this important joint, this atlanto-occipital joint, what you actually find is that we are not interfering with the back. The back is just being allowed to just lengthen and widen. That's very good. Often people are quite amazed that they can move the head further than usually. And the next place we have joints is the hips, two balls and a socket. And our main objective is always to transport the back as one unit as we move about. So let's use the hips and just move the back as one unit. And as we are advancing forward, comes a point where we can just release our feet to the ground, and I think that was effortless in comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. It was different, yeah.
A lot of people laugh at this stage because it feels very strange to start off with, this new sensation of moving in a different way. And the knees forward and away from the hips will take you right back to where we started. But hopefully in a different way. We want to make sure that once we're sitting, we're not actually sinking down and placing ourselves down on the chair. Yeah? We perhaps stopped moving, but we still want to utilize the thinking and the directions. And this is probably one of the hardest thing, is the ability to use those brain thoughts when it comes to everyday's life movements. Yeah, it's a little bit like learning a foreign language.
So you're thinking through your moves.
Yes. You're thinking through your moves, but the most important thing, and that is a very good question, the most important thing is that you actually stop before, when you have a stimulation to do something. Yeah? Because, for example, if there's a thought in your mind just now, Grant, stand up. Stand up. Stop! Not right away. You see, often we're very automatic in our way of movement. Yeah? Michal, pick this thing up. Yeah? If I'm always rushing right away, I'm always doing it in my old habitual way. Yeah? Observe the stiffening of the neck. The heavy head is just thrown backwards. That compresses the spine, and something like that to pick something up. Yeah. Alexander therefore introduced the idea of the stop. He called it inhibition. It's not a negative thing, inhibition. It's to do with stopping before you move. Yeah, because if you just jumped out of the way right away, you'll react in your old habitual way. So you put a stop to it. There's a thought in your head. Grant, stand up, stop. Inhibition. And then comes the directions, the thinking through the movement, as you said. Let the neck be free, to let the head go forward and up, to let the back lengthen and widen. And now we are thinking in activity. Very good. It is this heavy head that is going to lead the movement
Okay.
if we were to take a step. That's good. We're going to let the head lead the movement, letting the neck free to let the head go forward and up. So the whole back is lengthening and widening, and I'm therefore so much lighter on my legs. Yeah, that can really help the joints of the legs in terms of the knees and the ankles and the hips. Is that the usual way you're walking?
No, I don't think so.